I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me.
All right, 37 and 37, we got my mama bear in the house. Someone who we never thought we would get on the podcast, but we finally got her here.
Here I am.
Yep. This is a show where I'm talking to the 37 people before my 37th birthday that have influenced my life most. Obviously, my mother is the top of the list of how I've come into this world, who I am today. A big part of the 37 is the people that we're also like accountable to. So like when we're putting stuff out, is it something that they would watch? Is it something that they would approve of?
Yeah, I love that.
Is it something that they would share? These types of things. And so you're that, you're always one of those people in my life where I'm like, what am I tracking? Is this something that my mother would be proud of? And then two, is it something you would even enjoy, right? And
right, yeah.
I don't think we've put much out like that yet, but that's kind of where we're at. You've always been such a supportive person in my life in all facets.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch the ones that you've already completed, though, because I'm learning about people that have influenced your life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's cool just to see, who it is and find out the way that they influenced you.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to talk a little bit about like early childhood stuff. As myself and Elof have one child right now, thinking about two maybe one day.
Yes.
How do you think being a parent right now is different than even being a parent like when you were raising myself and Danielle? Does it feel like a different era of it, or are we all kind of lying to ourselves and it's all the same?
No, I think when you're little, when you have the little people, like little Cece right now, I think that remains the same.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest challenge that I see with people raising children as they get older is, of course, the screen time, the social media and all that. We got to get those kids outside. Because my motto for you guys was always busy and tired. And and it keeps the parents busy and tired too, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. You need to get outside and get some energy, or basketball, or you were hockey, when you were growing up. So that was very important for us to get you involved in those different things.
One thing that I really appreciated what yourself and Dad did is you were willing to have us in an era where we started with a small house and like just grew into like where both of your careers went, which became something so aspirational. It's even hard for me to be able to understand how I can get to a place within Cece's life that it would be as comfortable potentially. You know what I mean?
Yes.
With the amount of space and land and peace without as much like financial stuff.
Yeah.
Now, because of both your career paths, I think that the overall long outcome of finances wasn't necessarily scary.
Right.
I don't know that, but I would imagine in a sense you had kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. But when I was a baby, it had to still be weird every once in a while, no?
Yes. When I think of first when Danielle was a baby.
That was more the era where
we lived in a duplex, and we were renting in a duplex, and nobody was making much money, and we had young people that lived above us, and they would come home at 10:30 at night and come rolling up the steps and wake the baby up. So as life went on, we just continued to make those changes. So we knew at that point then it's time. We've got to get it together and figure out how we're going to buy our first house. And we did.
What would you, like during times that things were maybe, you're such an interesting person to me because you lived such a vast life. Mm-hmm. You've experienced being a foster child.
Right.
In a small town, which is actually even different.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew your family's circumstances.
Yes.
Which in a way could be very valuable because people can step up and be
supportive.
Inside of that.
Very supportive.
But at the same time, that's also very vulnerable.
Yes.
in a weird way too. But then you've also lived a life where yourself and dad have gotten to a place where we could travel internationally and like do all these things. But
Yep.
now you're also getting into a spot where you're like, now we're like downsizing and like almost restarting some things,
Right.
readjusting to figure out what we're at. But
Yes.
in those initial stages, what would you tell yourself with the wisdom you have now to be able to at least maybe like relieve some of the pressure or thoughts that you had during those moments?
I think it's I tell myself it's resilience and kind of grit. You just got to keep moving forward, and there are a lot of good people out there that are supporting you. You know, we had times when I was little, we lived off of the welfare cheese and peanut butter.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people wouldn't know that in Rochester. They wouldn't know that that's how I grew up. And then ending up with a foster family in high school. And the vulnerable piece of it, before I was a foster child, there was a lot of stuff that went on in the house in my home
Mm-hmm.
when my parents would come back and they would be together. That was a kind of a volatile situation. And you're going through the food line the next day at school, and they already know what's going on. They already know what happened the night before. You know, if the police had shown up to the house and somebody was taken out of the house, that was known. So I would go to school the next day and like, I knew that they knew that already. You could tell people knew that already.
Yeah. Why do you think, so you can tell me all of these stories that happened in your childhood,
Yes.
but you don't ever approach these stories with like an immense amount of grief or what some people would even call like a PTSD.
Right. Yeah.
The way that you raised me never reflected the way that you were raised. And I hear a lot of people within culture, which more in like the sense of media, which I think is a little bit of a propaganda and stuff like that. But there's this like, I'm a bad mom, or I'm not fit to be a good mom because I had a bad parent.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
you've never said that, or even, I think,
Yes.
I don't know what you haven't told me in different contexts of stuff, but still, I never felt that as a child.
Right.
And I think that's very interesting.
We did that very purposely, that I wouldn't bring that baggage to my children. I didn't want to bring the baggage of my life to my children. But I do think I must have had the first probably 4 or 5 years were good and solid for me. I lived in a place next to, we had a house and my grandparents were on the same farm. And so we always had support of my grandmother there, and my mother and father were together at that time. And I think those were good years. And I think that forms a lot of character in a child.
Yeah.
And so when we got to high school, by the time I got to high school and things were kind of messed up, I wasn't home much. I was out the door. You know, we would be in plays and choir and basketball and cheerleading, and I just didn't stay home.
Mm-hmm.
I was out the door. So I would leave the house many times 7 o'clock in the morning and not get home till, if it's a game night, 10:30.
Yeah.
And we didn't have the pressure of all the homework that you guys had. So all our homework was basically done at school, or you did it on the bus. But I got out. I got out of the house.
That's where your story and Elof's story feel very similar to me.
Very much so.
Because your foundation is so similar, but so different.
Yes.
But the way that you handled yourself within it seems very similar, where you just activated within your school.
Yes.
Now, through that, were you just like trying to distract yourself? Like you're just trying to get out of the house? Were you thinking about future, like at that moment, as much as children think about future now?
No, not at all. I never thought I was going to go to college. I didn't think that I could afford to go to college. So when I was in everything in high school, I was president of the student council, cheerleading captain. I did all that, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the challenges of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was good at it. I took leadership roles all the time, and took a little flack for that from some of the other kids in school.
In what sense?
You're a rah-rah. I remember being called a rah-rah. Like I would walk down the hall because we did everything. There was a few of us that just did everything. But as kids have matured, I even remember going back to a 5-year class reunion, and a girl apologized to me for how I was treated. I was bullied, though. In 7th and 8th grade, I was bullied in school. And
were you a popular, your class size? I guess we do have to kind of like set that up.
Yeah.
Like, what was your class size?
28.
Within the context of like, there was still like, was cool kids, there was the drug kids, there was sometimes the kids that were the activators, which you obviously were a part of that.
Yeah.
What, like, within like the social dynamics of school, like, what was your experience in that?
I'm going to tell you, first of all, our class, my whole class was interesting. My class of 1975. It was an interesting class because we were troublemakers. Early on, we were troublemakers. They literally brought in a therapist to talk to the class. I mean, it was that type of a class. But
rambunctious, wild, risk-taking,
kind of just naughty, just naughty. Like I remember one of the kids going up up into the ceiling tiles, one of the little boys going up in the ceiling tiles and, messing around, dropping down in the teacher's lounge and just stuff, not bad stuff, just naughty stuff. But our class then turned it around. Our whole class turned it around, and we all were good athletes, and there were people that were very creative in arts. And a lot of it, I have to say, was athletics. For me and for our class, we turned any negative energy we had into positive energy. And that was a good outlet for it.
When did your brain flip into college? Because had someone in your family been to college yet? Or somebody that you were close to?
No one in my family had been to college, had gone to a 4-year school. They'd gone to trade schools, but never a 4-year school. And that flipped for me when my future and father-in-law told me, you can go to college. And I was thinking, it made me think about it. And this is like a junior in high school. I'm thinking.
So this is Grandpa that was saying
yes,
this?
Grandpa Stead said that to me. He says, Pam, you can go to college. I'm sure he wanted better for his son, right? I'm thinking, yeah, we got to jack this girl up. She can do it. And I just didn't have the confidence that I could do it.
Yeah.
And the money. And so I applied to colleges, and I got one of my first letters back, and it was from Mankato State University that I've been accepted. I think they accept all the kids, but I had decent grades. And it said...
But did you know they accepted all the kids at that moment?
No, probably not. Probably not. You still have to get in.
So that had to feel pretty wild.
Yeah.
Because now you're going from a class size of 28 kids to, I would imagine, at least...
a few thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few thousand. But I had it, but I had a lot of grants, but I had to come up with $500 on my own. And I was in tears. Where am I going to find that $500? I can't do that. And then
that seemed insurmountable.
Oh, it was like, I couldn't imagine. Where am I going to, I've worked since I was 12. I babysat and waitressed and did things like that. But where am I going to get $500?
Yeah.
And I probably didn't understand that maybe that could have been paid over a time. I was thinking, probably have to show up and give them $500. And I knew that I couldn't do that. Ended up getting another scholarship for my grades. And
how long after do you think that came due where you're like, whoa, okay, that
like a month, maybe a month later.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I knew I was okay.
There's always this interesting story of you. I don't know how much is fabricated in family, but that you were working at the Maid-Rite at the time.
Yes.
And you're 14 years old-esque.
Yep.
So did you have a driver's permit at that time?
No, I have no driver's permit.
What car are you driving to work?
Every once in a while, I would get a family car to drive to work.
Could you walk to work?
Oh, no, it's 6 miles away.
Okay.
It was 6 miles. So I worked in Lake Mills, and Emmons was 6 miles away.
Gotcha.
So you'd have to drive. And so the story you're going to tell is when I've been working and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm coming out and my car doesn't start. And I tried to get it started, wouldn't start, and then the police officers pull up. Is that the story you're thinking of?
I've always thought about like because of the small town like police officer relationship, they know little Pam Stead is driving without a license.
Yes.
With a car that obviously she doesn't like. It's a family car, but your family maybe didn't even grant you the right to the car.
Right. Yeah.
Nor would that even be a conversation that really even happened.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the weird part about it too is the cops probably knew more about some of your family dynamics that almost like you even knew, or at least
absolutely. They knew
some
about
of the messier stuff. Like you saw it, but they see it probably from like bringing mom and dad over to the police station for a second and discussing what's happening, or pulling them outside, shutting the door.
Yep.
Kids stay inside.
Yes.
We need to understand these dynamics.
Yes.
I can't imagine what. I would love to almost hear a conversation between you and like one of those guys now.
Right. Oh.
You know what I mean? Of like, wow.
And they were so nice to me. So they came up to the car. I'm 14. I have no permit. They come up to the car and they say, "Hey, Pam," they knew who I was. "What's going on?" I go, "My car won't start." And they said, "Try it again." I tried it again and it started. It's kind of like a God moment. And they looked at me and they said, "See you later." And off I went. Pillows. I had to sit on pillows.
Yeah, the phone books, the pillows,
yes,
like all these things.
I was little, so I had to sit on something to drive away. So yeah, but they were great guys. You know, I'd see them every time I worked because they'd come in for coffee. Mm-hmm. So they knew who I was.
Yeah, I always thought it's been so cool. Like, you know, now you go into college, and I think that you and Dad did a great job of just like really partnering with each other early. You know,
oh
like,
yes.
You knew each other at what age?
Your 16, You're Beautiful and You're Mine was dedicated to me in our little school newspaper in high school. So 15.
What is You're 16, Beautiful and Mine? What is this?
It's a song.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
and
a
he
song.
dedicated it to you?
Yes.
Because he was like an editor or what?
We did it all.
Yeah, okay.
We did it all. But yeah, so that was dedicated to maybe to both Laura and I. So I've known him since 6th grade. Mm-hmm. Because we moved into Emmons and they were in Emmons as well. So I've known him since 6th grade. And then, we started dating in high school, early high school.
It's interesting, just like the partnership that you guys have done, the kind of the give and pull of who's either running the house, who's holding down the finances that are coming in the house.
Yes.
And who's running the house has never changed, but the dynamics of you know, who's the breadwinner has actually changed multiple times.
Yes.
Within your journey together.
Yeah, we've bounced back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And our journey, I'm trying to think of this story. If you've heard this story, when I was a senior in high school, Loring's a year older, so he went off to college. He was going off to college, to Luther College in Decorah. And I thought, you know, I need to kind of let him go fly be free because you're a college kid now. You don't want to date a high school girl. And so I told him that. I said, you need to go to Luther and just, you know, date and we need to break up so you can do that. And he goes, no. No,
yeah,
I'm not breaking up.
We know how clingy of a man he is now.
Yeah. He said no. But yeah, so, you know, and then in life, we've bounced back and forth in terms of our responsibilities. I have never thought of relationships 50-50. Sometimes it's 100 and it's 10%. Sometimes it's 98 and a 2%, depending on where you're at. You know, health things and things like that. But it switches back and forth in terms of who's pulling that weight.
Was there as much pressure within the context of career before children on a society, like pressure wise, that I think myself feel, and I even think harder on like for like Ellison, my baby sister, like there's just this sentiment of like your career pretty much has to be dialed before a child comes into your life. What was that pressure like societally then?
I don't remember the pressure. It was just the natural progression of, you know, you get married, hang out for few years, then you have a baby, and then, buy a house and move on. I don't remember the pressure from society as much as maybe you might feel that today, or Ellison might feel that today.
Yeah.
In terms of,
and society pressure is obviously all that you make it.
It's what you make it,
because
yes.
even today, when pressure gets turned up blast, I always think you're such a fundamental rock in just not dealing with it.
Yeah.
We're letting it like affect
where
what we're doing as a family, the conversations that we're trying to have, what we're trying to impact.
Right.
It's pretty interesting. I think that, now fast forward into wanting your kids to have the life that you've even created in the comfort for them. You allowed me to grow up in a very privileged setting. I got to experience other countries. I got to experience college without knowing what loans were getting taken out and the financial pressure of it. And you've also carried so much weight after college, which is a new thing, I think, within the context of what society's done before.
Yes.
You guys have maintained staying in the heat of battle with us.
Yes.
To help us get to a point, even till today.
Can't imagine I can't imagine that any other way. If you can, we're happy to do it. I just can't imagine it any other way. To support your children in their growth and their families and all of that, helping them launch. Everybody's got to launch.
What's your biggest fear for us, having children right now, where we are financially? What do you think there's potentially things that we're missing the mark on? Maybe even specifically me, because Danielle's a totally different thing. They're kind of flying. Yeah. Elle's younger and in initial career steps.
Yeah.
But what do you think that I could be potentially missing that would maybe be more understood in the era that you were growing up in?
I think the tough part for you is going to be able to be a homeowner here in the in the Los Angeles, in the Orange County era. I think that's going to be tough just because of pricing and you want something with some size, because we saw the one that was 918 square feet yesterday and it was $788,000.
What do I live in square footage wise here?
You're probably 3,200.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
yeah, so take this room and your kitchen and your living room, maybe half of your living room.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's
even the one that's 1.2 million is half of this?
I think that was 1,700 square feet. That was 1.2. Yeah.
Now, that's where it gets weird.
Yes, and now you can find a home that is laid out well, because 1,700 square feet can feel different in two different layouts of a home. So you can find something that's laid out well and find whatever your needs are to satisfy your needs as a family. But it'll be interesting. That's my fear for you guys.
Now that you're a grandparent and you have grandkids in different states, this is a new generational kind of new leap, which I feel like a lot of your friends are also experiencing as well.
Yes. Yeah,
There's
see a lot
a certain
of that.
level of heartbreak in being so far away all the time, always needing to separate time.
Yes.
How do you compartmentalize that? Where it's because now that I understand Khaleesi, she's a part of my heart, and you have a part of your heart in Dallas, a little bit in Minnesota, a little bit in Los Angeles. What does that feel like?
It's hard because I wish I could do more. I wish I could see, the grandchildren more and you more often on just those daily routine kind of basis, just little things like the little drop-ins. I get that advantage right now just with Ellison. She's got her own house and I can pop in, and I always let her know I'm coming ahead of time, or she said, come on over.
Yeah,
so,
or Dad's already there and he's I already popped in.
Yeah. But she'll say, come on over. We just want to, let's watch something together. And we do that, we can pop over and do that. And I don't have that advantage to do that with you or with Danielle. But what I try to do when I'm here is be present when I'm here.
Yeah.
I think that's the important piece, just to
imprint, as we always call it.
I am going to imprint when I'm here. And thank goodness we have FaceTime.
Yeah.
Because you guys FaceTime me every day, and I love that. And so when I'm walking in the door, little Cece's not trying to figure out who are you. She looks at me, and then she figured it out pretty quickly, which is fun. So she's.
Well, it's such a tough thing because, like, I would love to live in Minnesota in the theory of it, and I would love our family to live all in the same nooks. Mm-hmm. But I also love the fact that our family fights for what they care about so hard that we're willing to sacrifice for sacrifice the distance for the dream.
Yes.
Sacrifice finances for the dream.
Yes.
It's a weird kind of tug and pull because as far away as we all live together, we're probably we're a really close family.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Always in communication.
Yes.
Everybody's in each other's stuff. Supportive, and you wouldn't be as aware of the distance, or if people who are like, well, you don't live next to your family, do you ever talk to them? And I'm like, multiple times a day.
Yeah, multiple times a day.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we are lucky in the new technology era where you all don't feel far.
Right. I understand that. But one thing that I would like to say too is that what warms my heart is to know that you have your in-laws here.
Right.
And so you're here, and Elof is here, and her family is 5 minutes away from you guys. So you have that support and love. And I feel loved when I come here by her family, because they're all so supportive and they love you. And that's all we want is for you to make a good choice in a partner, and then for your partner's family to love you as well. And they're over the moon.
Yeah.
And Danielle, we have the same thing with Danielle, where Bryant's family is there, and she's got support from Bryant's family, which feels good.
One of the stories I always tell within our relationship, and I think this is just so, it's heartwarming. I totally remember the moment. It's the reason I had no fear in the moment, but Elof's biggest concern within us taking the next step, which was really just, we'd already been dating, but we're in kind of the crosshairs of it's time to probably move in with each other.
Yeah.
If we're going to move on, we're wasting each other's time if we don't really think about this as a long-term commitment.
Correct.
Even before a ring, the 2 years before a ring type of conversation. And it was, well, I don't know if your family would ever get along with my family. Right? And now we think about it, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And it really came down to this context of, well, I don't think our family's cultures would match. And to me, it does really come down to this perception of what you and Dad represent in Minnesota, right? An affluent family, a white family, a Christian family, Minnesota, the Midwest, all these types of weird general perceptions.
Yes.
That come off almost sinister in a way. And I think that's so interesting of why culture has started to perceive even a person like yourself as demeaning or sinister or racist.
Yes.
And all these things, it's odd. And it's
sad.
It's sad. And you find yourself almost, you distance yourself from a lot of things, but culturally the conversation, you're actually in the crosshairs a lot, whether you know it or not. And I just think it's an interesting statement to just know that myself and Elof's family, and now that we are one family, our
Yeah.
cultures are just so darn similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
They all have kind hearts. They're loving. They're giving. They're just family orientated,
right.
right? You don't invite just this couple. You've got the whole darn family that comes in, and we love that. We love that.
Yeah. It's so interesting to think that was like a breaking point of why we actually broke up for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think our families would get along.
And they're the best.
And she was always like, why didn't you like text me a bunch during that time? Why, like, and not in a bad way. She was just like, you were so comfortable with me discovering that.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is because of you. Because I'm like, if God lets me have a chance for her to really like be absorbed in our family,
Yes,
it's over. It's it's such a non-issue. It's actually now she likes y'all better than she likes me. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's been wonderful. She came for the 4th of July, and we had a great time, and she fits right in. And but the best was when we came last year. We come here, and you'd given us a sweatshirt to wear, and we're going to wear this sweatshirt, and they say Steadfast on them. And we've got our, the Steads have got their Stead sweatshirts on. We walk in the door, and Elof's whole family had the Steadfast sweatshirts on. It was the best. And talk about feeling welcomed and feeling like a family. And it was just so fun.
And that's what it really comes down to in any relationship. I think that like older siblings set the tone, parents set the tone of like the communication strategy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get into these bigger steps where like, you have these larger families where, Elof's family is so willing and able to accept us and love us and share their culture with us and realize like that we're all one.
Yes.
It's both parties going, I love you and I want you here.
Yes.
And that commitment. It's a two-way street. It cannot be done one way.
Absolutely. And it feels warm and welcoming. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. We've done it. We did it. It was awesome.
So I kind of want to end this a little bit like with career stuff.
Okay.
Because you do such an interesting job of being a mother first, but still somehow like tying up a bunch of like loose ends for us, like on financial settings and just within like the push and pull of how to manage where we are economically and keep this thing forward. And I think you take a lot of like risk for us as a whole to be able to help like keep this boat afloat. How do you think you've been able to do that? Like, where does your mind start to be able to, like you started real estate at a time you're almost in a way where you were like, I can see our dad's career getting to a closer end. I'm going to need to like really ramp up my real estate business in order to like support this next gap period. Yeah. And you have done that.
Yeah, we did that. I just think it was just, I'm not going to sit around, and I always figured when I was a mom, you guys were in high school, and my support for you was volunteering in a lot of different areas of the school. And I put a lot of time into that. And I thought, I'll put a lot of time and energy into that. I need to kind of flip that a little bit and maybe make some money, and it wasn't a tough decision to make. I've never it didn't feel like a tough decision to me. I just fell into that and it felt right. And that's what we did.
Yeah. That's how you handle everything. Yeah, whenever I talk about like any level of adversity or barrier, just like you're like, well,
you just had some things just have to be done. It's choices that you make. We've all got choices, right? You can make those choices, and I just think each choice is a direction that you're going to take. So make sure you're making that right choice. For
our like grandkids, for us within the small community that we like support and stuff, what do you hope to be like, just what do you hope people take from you and remember of you and like all these things? Like, what do you hope, even in like a moment, that you're like understood as, or do you not even really think of it like that?
I think about that. I want them to remember the little things, not the big grand gestures, just the little things. You know, like when we sit and read a book, we sit and or maybe we've gone to the park. I take the kids to the park, or singing. I can see Khaleesi likes it when I sing to her right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just those little things. I hope that they remember grandma as, and that I'm not tense. I'm not flipping out. I'm just, grandma's here. What do you need? Let's just get done what you need and make you comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Make everybody comfortable.
That's beautiful. All right. Well, this is 37 and 37.
Hey,
we
did
had Mama
it.
Bear in the house. We got her on the pod. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you too.
And you guys got to get on a plane.
We got to get on a
So
plane.
we got to bounce.
Back to Minnesota.
All right. Over
All right.
and out. God bless and school.
Love ya.
Love you.